This handbook describes the various environmental conditions affecting human survival and describes isolated personnel, activities necessary to survive during successful evasion or isolating events leading to successful recovery. It is the fundamental reference document providing guidance for any USAF service member who has the potential to become isolated. Deviations require sound judgment and careful consideration. This publication provides considerations to be used in planning and execution for effective mission accomplishment of formal USAF survival, evasion, resistance, and escape, SERE, training, environmentally specific SERE training, and combat survival continuation training programs. The tactics, techniques, and procedures in this publication are recognized best practices presenting a solid foundation to assist USAF service members to maintain life and return with honor from isolating events. One evader concluded with the following advice. My advice is, when in Rome, do as the Romans do. Show interest in their country, and they will go overboard to help you. One of the most frequently given bits of advice is to accept, respect, and adapt to the ways of the people among whom IP find themselves. Expect challenges as you put this advice into practice. Figure 10.1 Local people. The IP must give serious consideration to people. Are they farmers, fishermen, friendly people, or enemies? To the IP, cross-cultural contact can vary quite radically in scope. It could mean interpersonal relationships with people of an extremely different culture, or contacts with people who are culturally similar by our standards. A culture is identified by standards of behavior that are considered proper and acceptable for the members and may or may not conform to our idea of propriety. Regardless of whom these people are, the IP can expect they will have different laws, social and economic values, and political and religious beliefs. People will be friendly, unfriendly, or unknown to the IP. If the people are known to be friendly, the IP must make every attempt to keep them that way by being courteous and respecting the religion, politics, social customs, habits, and all other aspects of their culture. If the people are known to be enemies or are unknowns, the IP should make every effort to avoid any contact and leave no sign of presence. Therefore, a basic knowledge of the daily habits of the local people can be extremely important in this attempt. An exception might be, if after careful and covert observation, it is determined an unknown people are friendly, contact might be made if assistance is absolutely necessary. Generally, there is little to fear and everything to gain from thoughtful contact with the local peoples of friendly or neutral countries. Familiarity with local customs, displaying common decency, and most importantly, showing respect for their customs should help an IP avoid trouble and possibly gain needed assistance. Prior to making contact, the IP should take into account cultural norms in selecting the person to contact. To make contact, an IP should wait until only one person is near and, if possible, let that person make the initial approach. Most people will be willing to help an IP who appears to be in need. However, political attitudes and training or propaganda efforts can change the attitudes of otherwise friendly people. Conversely, in nominally unfriendly countries, many people, particularly in remote areas, may feel abused or ignored by their politicians, and may be friendlier toward outsiders. Friendly, courteous, and patient behavior is important for successful contact with local peoples. Displaying fear, displaying weapons, and making sudden or threatening movements can cause a local person to fear an IP, which can prompt a hostile response. When attempting contact, smile frequently. Many local peoples may be shy and seem unapproachable, or they may ignore the IP. Approach them slowly and don't rush matters. IP may use tobacco, money, bloodshed, and personal items to discreetly trade for necessities in an isolated situation. IP should be cautious and not overpay for needed items. Nonverbal language or acting out needs or questions can be very effective. Many people are accustomed to it and communicate using nonverbal sign language. Potential IP should learn a few words and phrases of the local language in and around their area of operations. Attempting to speak someone's language is an excellent way to show respect for their culture. Since English is widely used, some of the local people may understand a few words of English. Certain areas may be taboo, and they range from religious or sacred places to diseased or danger areas. In some areas, certain animals must not be killed. An IP must learn what the rules are and follow them. The IP must be observant and learn as much as possible. This will not only help in strengthening relations, but new knowledge and skills may be very important later. IP should seek advice on local hazards and attempt to remain clear of hostile people. Keep in mind though, that frequently, people, as in our culture, insist others are hostile because they also do not understand different cultures and distant peoples. The people that generally can be trusted, in their opinion, are their immediate neighbors, much the same as in our own neighborhood. Local people may suffer from diseases which are contagious. The IP should build a separate dwelling, if possible, and avoid physical contact without seeming to do so. Personal preparation of food and drink is desirable if it can be done without giving offense. Frequently, the use of personal or religious custom as an explanation for isolationist behavior will be accepted by the local people. The IP must be very cautious when touching people. Many people consider touching taboo and such actions may be dangerous. Sexual contact should be avoided. Hospitality among some people is such a strong cultural trait they may seriously reduce their own supplies to make certain a stranger or visitor is fed. What is offered should be accepted and shared equally with all present. The IP should eat in the same way the local people eat and, most importantly, attempt to eat what is offered to avoid offense. If any promises are made, they must be kept. Personal property and local customs and manners, even if they seem odd, must be respected. Some kind of payment, money, trade items, budget, etc., for food, supplies, etc., may be offered depending on culture. Privacy must be respected and an IP should not enter a house or dwelling unless invited. In today's world of fast-paced international politics and shuttle diplomacy, political attitudes and commitments within nations are subject to rapid change. The population of many countries, especially politically hostile countries, must not be considered friendly just because they do not demonstrate open hostility. Pre-mission briefings should cover interaction with local population and those in the country who are in positions of authority such as the police, government, and military. While initial contact is best done on a one-to-one basis, IP may encounter locals in larger groups and built-up areas that represent multiple cultures. Aspects of culture include the norms, values, religion, language, race, ethnicity, and heritage associated with a specific group. Determining the expected interaction between the human societies, with consideration for the built-up areas, the natural environments, and support networks, transportation, food resources, religions, and other countless features of the landscape, may help the IP anticipate the types of interactions they might encounter and prepare accordingly. A built-up area is a concentration of structures, facilities, and people that form the economic and cultural focus for the surrounding area. There is no standard urban terrain. Built-up areas are classified into 4 categories. Villages, population up to 3,000. Strip areas, urban areas built along roads connecting towns or cities. Towns or small cities, population up to 100,000 and not part of a major urban complex. Large cities with associated urban sprawl, population up to the millions, covering hundreds of square kilometers. While the physical characteristics of the built-up areas are of great importance, the key variable is the population. The issue is simply whether the citizenry is friendly, unfriendly, or unknown. Too often, the evaluation of the flesh and blood terrain, of the human high ground, ends there. Yet few populations are ever exclusively hostile, or truly indifferent, or unreservedly welcoming. Analyzing the cultural architecture of the built-up area begins with the recognition that there are 3 broad types of human terrain. For IP purposes, the human terrain of built-up location can be classified as hierarchical, multicultural, or tribal. Hierarchical human terrain, chains of command operate within broadly accepted rule of law. Multicultural human terrain, contending systems of custom and belief, often aggravated by ethnic divisions, Struggle for dominance. Tribal human terrain, based upon differences in blood, but not in race or, necessarily, in religion. Ethnic conflicts can be intractable and merciless. These classifications provide a general understanding of the human architecture and the operational environment that an IP may be thrust into. It can provide assistance in developing a general course of action when establishing contact, define potential problems when dealing with local populations, identify possible scenarios with law enforcement, paramilitary, and military agencies, and help in the problem solving and decision making during an isolating event. Thank you for watching.